Minnesota Vikings have been around since 1961. And I just want them to win a damn Super Bowl before I die. Welcome to Before I Die with Jessi and Myles on Purple Daily and Score North.
Just one before we die. You guys, I'm going to start off with a positive note. Your Minnesota Vikings, 14 wins on the season. Round of applause for that. 14-3. Okay. I know it's not what we wanted yesterday. The result was not at all what we wanted. Easily the worst game for Sam Darnold since the Jacksonville atrocity. Falling to the Detroit Lions, not clinching that number one. For me, it felt like there was too much optimism and positivity heading into that game anyway. Like the whole state was like, yeah, we're going to get that number one. We're feeling it. We're buying tickets to fly out to Detroit. I'm sorry. That's just always a telltale red flag for me because then you know it's not going to end your way.
I love that. No, I love that you started with the positivity and then just immediately shifted to the negativity. And I also love our what do you call that, like a Bronx cheer when you said we're 14-3? Everybody just went, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
I guess I'll start really quickly. I don't think I could agree anymore with what you said, even though I don't think that how fans are feeling that has any indication of what's going to happen on or off the field. But I will say this, in Minnesota Vikings history, it tends to be a pretty good indicator, not always, but it seems like often when we allow ourselves to believe, well, it doesn't take very long to not believe again. Myles?
Right. Well, and you know the worst part about this whole thing is earlier in the season, the Vikings only, well, now 3 losses are to 2 teams, right? Detroit and the Rams. They lost their first game of the season to Detroit and then lost to the Rams the very next week. We get to go to LA and play the Rams right after we played the Lions. And as we've seen, most teams don't perform very well after they play the Lions. It's because we know the Lions play gritty, hard-nosed football. It's a tough game no matter what. So this should be fun. I'm excited to see how the Vikings bounce back. I don't think we're going to see a goose egg essentially the way we did this last night. I think we're going to see a significantly better game. I don't think Kevin O'Connell is going to be as out-coached because he did. Yes. They got out-coached last night, and I don't like to say that because it doesn't happen very often to Kevin O'Connell, but they did. They got out-coached. They got out-schemed. They just got out-beat, and it was really hard to watch because we're just not used to seeing that from a Kevin O'Connell-led team.
Kevin O'Connell, phenomenal coach. I don't think any of us would question that. We are not saying that he's a bad coach. But that was my biggest frustration in yesterday's game is when you could clearly see Sam Darnold didn't have it, change the scheme, change the way that you're going to address the approach to that game. I mean, Sam Darnold had Jordan Addison wide open in the end zone and just couldn't cut it loose, right? Like, it wasn't Sam's game. So mix it up. You have to do something different. And not to mention, I mean, Darnold wasn't getting any help from his O-line, and the defense wasn't able to stop the run game. So there are definitely other elements that I think went awry for the Vikings, in addition to Darnold playing easily his worst game of the season.
Yeah.
But I agree with you on the KOC front. We love him. We adore him, and he's a fantastic, fantastic coach. But his inability to change things up and react to what the Detroit Lions were giving him and what Sam Darnold therefore wasn't giving him, I think was kind of the biggest takeaway for me as to why the Vikings failed.
And you're not always just going to be able to throw out of a slump because you could tell that Darnold was in a slump. And you're not, and we've seen KOC to say, well, we're just going to throw out of it. Like he's just going to keep peppering it, and it'll eventually stick. Last night wasn't getting there. It wasn't getting to the point where it was sticking with Darnold. You saw a couple good throws here and there. But my issue is, I want to go back to Kevin O'Connell too. Is it wasn't just the fact that they just threw it all. It was 41 passes, only completed 18. It was the fact that I want to say this too. I have no issues with them going for it on 4th down in the areas in the red zone that they did yesterday. I'm all for it. You need to score touchdowns to win football games. They knew that going into the game last night, and Detroit knew that. We see that every week with Detroit. Detroit goes for it on 4th down probably more than any team in the league, but they also have 15 wins. Right? It tends to work out, and if it doesn't always work out for them, they find ways to bounce back. I think the Vikings were trying to take this similar approach, and I'm good with that. My issue was how they set up those 4th down plays. Yeah. Every 3rd down situation was we're still gonna throw it. And my biggest gripe was I think it was 3rd and like from the 2 in the red zone, And instead of trying to run the football to set up that, because you knew that they were going to go for it on fourth down if they don't get it.
Yeah.
Run the ball on third down and see if you can try to score. Again, like you said, Jessi, Sam Darnold was off accuracy-wise. He just let somebody else try their hand at it and see if they can run the ball in the end zone. And if they can't, then you can still go for it on fourth down. I just didn't like that every single third down leading into a fourth, it had to be a pass. And I don't know why. They didn't feel like they could set up the run. And the run, I know they had a couple big runs. Like Cam Akers had the 50-something yarder. But the run game was doing okay overall, though. They weren't being stymied too badly, but they kept getting away from it. And as we know, Kevin O'Connell always gets away from the run. And my issue was sometimes you need to lean and rely on it. I know Aaron Jones was struggling with some, I don't know if he's just banged up. Looked like he might have gotten an IV at halftime. I don't know. But either way, whether it's Cam Akers or Aaron Jones, run the ball a little bit more in some of these situations. So that was my biggest gripe on the third and fourth down calls. It was never an option. It was only a pass.
Right.
I think it's one of those things too, Jessi and Myles, when this season comes to an end, whether it's next Monday night in LA or maybe it's 6 weeks from now with a Super Bowl championship. I don't really know if I believe that, but I'm going to continue to say that because it is a possibility. But let's say this comes to an end in the next week or two. I think one thing that's going to be revisited, even though it's been better this year, but Myles just touched on it, the inability to run the ball, and not necessarily even run the ball when it matters and people know you're going to run the ball, right? Late in game situations where you need a first down to close out the game. Don't get it. You have to punt the ball back. The one thing that I think about, there'll be plenty of time to talk about this, but I want to plant the seed to Vikings fans. Let's say this ends in the next week or two. I feel like that first round pick is a valuable asset for the best. We'll have to see how it shakes out, but I feel like that's where you're looking for a guard. And if you need to flip that to maybe move to the second or third round, get an offensive lineman at that point, I see Myles shaking his head and that's fine. But I just don't think you can win at a high level with this interior offensive line. Besides the two left tackles, the center is average at best, and I think I might be kind in saying that, and I think the left guard and the right guard are serviceable. I mean, you look last night, and PFF doesn't mean everything, but you look at those PFF rankings for those Lions linemen, I think they're all basically in the top 10, and the Vikings have one guy, and it's Brian O'Neill. And the rest of the guys, to a degree, are just guys, and let's be honest, Darrisaw's great when he plays. Darrisaw doesn't always play. So the Vikings, as they look forward, and even in these playoff games, Myles and Jessi and Myles, I'll let you be a rebuttal here. I don't know how you do it, but you're going to have to find ways to get more out of your offensive line because these better teams that you're going to play are going to crush that interior of an offensive line like the Lions did last night, and they're banged up.
Yeah, that was the part that frustrated me the most is the Lions have, I think they had said it last night, like 12 players on IR. Their D-line was decimated. They only had like Zadarius Smith and a couple of their like young guys. Otherwise, it was just like journeyman type players or depth players for them, and we still couldn't like truly take advantage of that. That bugged me a lot too. Like to your point, like they didn't have Aleem McNeil, who's one of the best interior D linemen in the league, and we still struggled on the interior line, and that to me is a problem. And to your point, Ross, how can they not get that sorted out at this point in the stage of the season? And I guess it's just the point of like they're just not, and so they have to work around it. I think. Overall, we've seen Darnold kind of mask some of those interior line mistakes with his maneuverability and ability to evade and just maneuver the pocket. He's really good within the pocket. He struggled last night. You could tell he was, I don't want to say the seeing ghost thing, but he was kind of seeing ghosts. Because he was. Like, you could see it from the jump. Like, that dude was jittery. And it didn't calm down. And usually you see the things start to calm. Like, Jared Goff, similar thing. I kind of feel like you saw the jitters to start, and then they kind of started to fade for him, right?
Yeah.
That we didn't see that same thing for Darnold, and that's what bugged me the most. And I think the O-line played a part in that, of it not settling down for him. So I'm with you, Ross. Like, they do need to address the interior line in the offseason, but I would never spend a first-round pick to do it.
I mean, good news is the Vikings aren't facing Jahmyr Gibbs next week, so I mean that's a positive, right?
Just Kyron Williams, but yeah, no, Jahmyr Gibbs went off last night. Like that dude just did everything for them, and it was just effortless. It looked so effortless, and the way he runs, it just looks like he's not even trying.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's really good.
I like it. I know we have a lot of really good comments, but before we get into those, I want to just ask you guys. Does this change your perception of the Minnesota Vikings? Now, again, 14 wins on the season. They are playoff bound. The season is not over. They are continuing on to face the LA Rams. Does this change your perception of who the Minnesota Vikings are? I almost said the Minnesota Wild. I'm not going to lie. Because the Wild are in that same kind of tumultuous, like, who are they, right? Does this change your perception of who the Vikings are and your confidence heading into that game against the Rams, given the performance against the Lions, who obviously a far better team than LA is in general? Myles, we'll start with you.
No, I don't, because I think the one thing that we saw last night was kind of an anomaly for the Vikings. They made the Lions make a lot of mistakes. There was 2 turnovers. They were in the red zone a lot. They moved the ball at times. It wasn't just like a complete fall flat in your face type of performance last night. They just didn't capitalize on a lot of the issues that happened, and a lot of the issues from the Lions, I should say, that happened. So that's rare for the Vikings. That doesn't happen. So I think that overall, the game got away from the Vikings in the fourth quarter. They were in the game pretty much the first 3 quarters of the game. As we got into the fourth, it just started to fade. You could just tell the Lions were like,
though? I don't know.
Yes. Yeah, I like one flip of the script, like one touchdown from the Vikings, and that game's completely different. Obviously, before they get into the fourth quarter, right when the Lions really pulled away, like that 31-9 score. Yes, it's
indicative of the play.
Yeah,
sure.
Like the game just kind of like faded into the Lions taking over, and it was getting to that point. But the Vikings had multiple chances to kind of rein that back and take control of that game, and they just didn't do it. We're also not used to not seeing them do it. They're used to doing that this season. So I think that's an anomaly, and I want to treat this last night as an anomaly. The Lions are a really good team. They're at home. Like, the Vikings are a good football team, and I think they're good at finding their issues and correcting and course correcting, and I think we'll see that next week. That doesn't mean I'm saying they're automatically going to win, but I think we'll see them course correct and come out a lot cleaner as we go into next week.
Sure.
I'll make my rebuttal very quickly, or my reply very quickly. It doesn't change my opinion at all, because I'll be honest, I think everybody knows this. I've been a bit more of a natural skeptic with this team. Not that I don't believe that they're good, perhaps really good. I think we can all agree they're far better than we all thought they were going to be. That's been rehashed over and over again, but there's just certain reasons why I don't 100% believe in this team. I think the defense is a 1-year plug-and-play defense, and that scares me. I think at times we've seen Gilmore look great. We've also at times seen him look old. I think Sam Darnold, we all know what we're going to get. Some days you're going to get really good Sam, and occasionally you're going to get really bad. Unplug Sam Darnold and plug him back in and hope that it's better. So it doesn't change my opinion at all. They still won 14 games. In a weird way, they're just a victim of circumstances that the Lions went on to win 15 games and beat you twice. Most years, 14-3 is going to get you at very least the division. So it doesn't change it a ton, other than it just reaffirms what I believe. If this team's going to go on a run and win 3 games in a row now on the road, it's truly every game, week in and week out, going to have to be a team effort. It can't be that the offense carries you to victory or that the defense shuts a team out and you win a game 10-9. It's truly going to have to be complementary football. I know we'll get into the Vikings and Rams here in just a little bit, but the Vikings will have a really good opportunity for themselves, just a week from today, to prove, I don't want to say everybody wrong, but to prove that they still belong in the conversation of a Super Bowl contender.
Right. You know what the worst kind of injury in life is? It's a broken heart, which I feel a lot of Vikings fans have. Nicolai Law might not be able to assist in the broken heart component, but other injuries in life, they're there for you.
Yeah, quick shout out to Nicolai Law. They are the exclusive personal injury law firm of Purple Daily. All you Purple Daily and Before I Die fans know when the situation arises, it's Nicolai Law that can help you out. They know that when you or a loved one gets injured, ordinary life can come to a stop. Everything gets complicated, and nobody wants that. That's where our friends at Nicolai Law come in. They're your normal, everyday folks, the ones you see at the gas station, the grocery store. They're out walking the dog in your neighborhood. They're here to make sure you get the compensation you deserve after an accident. If you've been injured, get Minnesota's local award-winning injury lawyers. You need to get Nicolai. Start your path to winning at NicolaiLaw.com. That's NICOLET law.com. Or give them a call at 855-NICOLAI. That is 855-NICOLAI.
Comments from YouTube.
All right, guys, I lined up what I believe to be 3 meaty ones. I will let you both reply, and if I feel like offering something up, I will. But it's time for Jessi and Myles to address the comments from YouTube. Calvin Smith, 5492. I believe I've used comments from him before, but I really liked this one, and I think you guys will have fun replying to this one. Can anyone tell me why we are running deep routes against 6 and 7 man blitzes? LOL. Where are the quick slants and crossing routes? Like, I don't know. Maybe Detroit was running on us. In all caps. The question for you guys. I guess I'll start with Myles for this one. Jessi, you could reply. Was KOC's game plan last night flawed?
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty simple. Yes. And as you saw, I think the commenter made a perfect point. The Lions did the same. When we blitzed, the Lions always had an answer for it, or they tended to always have an answer for it. We never seemed to have an answer for the Lions blitzes, and that was an issue. So they always had guys replacing blitzing, like blitzing spaces within a blitz. Like whether you're playing zone or man, they always had a guy. If let's say the linebacker is blitzing, let's say Blake Cashman is blitzing, and they would always have a guy just running back to that space that Blake Cashman had voided, and they'd be open, and Jared Goff would give it to him, and they'd give first down, or they would avoid the sack, all those things. We never had those answers. We always had 3 or 4 guys running 10-plus yards, and in the face of a blitz, where's the opportunity to get rid of the ball quickly in those situations? That, to your point, so to the end of the commenter's point, they just didn't seem to have those answers, and that is where, like, when you have C.J. Ham in the game on third downs, he's not really a check down type of guy who's going to go out and make a guy miss. He's there for pass pro, but it also creates a situation where you're not as worried about him coming out of the backfield to make a man miss and create a play to convert on third downs and those things. So I think the one thing KOC needs to fix is some of that as we go into the Rams, because the Rams are going to see what the Lions did and probably try to carbon copy some of that. You're facing a similar team, Sean McVay, disciple. So McVay knows a little bit of what Kevin O'Connell wants to do. There's a lot of that, right? So I think what we're going to see is hopefully Kevin O'Connell kind of course correct some of that and come correct.
No, it's brilliant. We discussed it in the first half though too, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, we had talked about how he just needs to have different approaches. It's not necessarily even a better approach, it's different approaches. You can't keep trying to do the same thing over and over again when it's proving to not work. It's frustrating to watch. So
this next comment, sorry to cut you off there, Jessi. My apologies.
You're not. It's fine. Whatever.
You're right. I'm not at all. I enjoy putting you in your place, Jessi.
I'll go to the kitchen later. Don't worry.
Wow, that's not what I meant by that, but very good comeback.
Thank you.
Ron T 3333 says, I really do like this comment, and I'm interested to hear your guys' reply. I think we've kind of heard some of it, but it'll be nice to go a bit more in depth. The Lions were ready. The Vikings were not. The Lions played like they were supposed to be here. The Vikings played like they were glad to be here. Question number 2, I'll start with you, Jessi. Were the Vikings just happy to be in the NFC North de facto championship game? Or was it just a really bad, no good, horrible night?
Shout out to Ronti. I love that. The Lions played like they were supposed to be here and the Vikings played like they were glad to be here. I mean, I think it's a little bit of both, right? I don't want to say that the Vikings got too ahead of themselves. I don't want to say, because you don't want to believe that about your team. You don't want to believe that they were just happy to be there and they're, or they're feeling themselves too much. Like, oh, we could do that. It's a combination of both. If Sam Darnold had a better game, this looks totally different, right? If he could even play a little bit better than what he had showed, or if he had,
competent
managed to, yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, any semblance of what we've seen over the past 9-10 games prior to that, right? I mean, we had talked about before, his passer rating has been tremendous in every single game this season, with the exception of like 2 and now 3, including last night's loss as well, I imagine. I think things could have gone differently had certain players had better performances, and that's going to happen, right? I mean, that's part of any given Sunday. That's what happens out there in the game of football. So I think it was partially a really bad night. I'm sure, mentally there was a little bit of, oh my gosh, we're here. We're excited to be here. But also they're professional athletes. They know how to turn it on and get the job done. So I just think things didn't go their way. It's got to be a quick trash it, refresh, and go and take it to the Rams come Monday night. So I'm leaning more toward the really horrible night, because that's what I need to believe in order to continue to have confidence in this team.
100% what Jessi said. I feel like the last thing on that last point is, through the first 3 quarters, I felt like they were pretty evenly matched. obviously some small nuances here and there. The Lions, as the game went, though, they definitely just took it. And I think that's where the change, especially from fans' perspective, is. If this game had ended 9 to, let's say, 16 or whatever, that 17, I don't think the same perspective. But the Lions just kept scoring toward the end of the game and just completely took the game out of reach. And I think that changed the perspective a little bit more. But overall, yes, I'm with what Jessi had to say.
The final comment, and I want to preface this comment because, sometimes when you read things in text, you don't get the full context of what somebody is saying. So I don't think Jimmy Melt is necessarily trashing Sam Darnold and praising J.J. McCarthy. But the comment from Milt, 2979 says, let the J.J. McCarthy era begin. And I think that is a fair comment. I think many people are going to be talking about that today. A lot of them have been talking about it all season, CC Thor Nystrom. But here's my question to you guys. Can we not at least wait until the 2024-2025 Minnesota Vikings are officially pronounced dead before we move on to next season? There's going to be plenty of time to move on to J.J. McCarthy when the calendar allows it. For now, can we still not just enjoy that? I think a team that many thought was a long shot for the playoffs, even though, albeit we're not feeling great today, won 14 games and is the 5 seed. Can we just wait a little bit? That's my question.
I think the problem with this is if the Sam Darnold doubters are going to easily be like, see, this is why we're not going back to him. See, this is exactly it. See, which that's fair. I would do the same thing to Kirk Cousins when he had a terrible game, right? I'm like, see, this is why he's awful. Again, still just his face. But yeah, I think it's too easy to focus on that for those that don't want Sam Darnold and are excited for JJ McCarthy. And I think you can have a life where both exist. You could be so excited for JJ McCarthy and yet still be excited for what this team might be able to accomplish and not just be ready to be like, forget it. We're just going for JJ anyway. I mean, there is room for both in existence for a Vikings fan. So if you're feeling conflicted, please give us a call, talk in the comments about it, because help is out there. You can do both. It's okay. So in my opinion, let's continue to try to enjoy the ride, right? I almost prefer, I look at it, I went back because there's been a lot of comparisons, right, to the Minneapolis Miracle, and then, they're moving on and they get to go to this, whatever. I kind of maybe feel better that this wasn't an overly emotional, exuberant game, right? Because then we're not going to just get destroyed and be completely shattered, hopefully, come that first playoff. I don't know, right? My little, maybe? Makes sense?
I'm with you, and where I'm with you, Jessi, is the standpoint of, I'll backtrack to the first thing that you said.
So you're not with me on the second part. That's fine. It's cool.
No. I just think the most impactful, quote unquote, powerful thing that you said is you can, I hate the phrase, what is it, have your cake and eat it. You can't have your cake and eat it too, because I still have never been explained why that phrase actually makes any sense.
Because if you have your cake, you're going to eat it naturally, right? So it doesn't make, I think people get it wrong. I think you're supposed to say, you can't eat your cake and have it too. But technically you still have it because it's in your stomach. Mary Kate and Ashley said that one time.
This has already confused me even more. But what I'm saying is you can still enjoy the now and be excited about the future. I didn't even let you reply to that, Myles, so I'm going to shut up and let you do that.
It's all good. My only thing was going to say that it's always funny to me that we go from every week, like whether it's good or bad, it's a roller coaster. It's when we're really good, we won 9 games in a row. And before last night, 9 games in a row. How many people can say that their team's done that? How many Vikings fans can say they've seen their team do that? And one loss, and I know it's a big one, so I'm not sitting here like glossing that over. But that one loss means the sky's falling. Sam Darnold's awful now. That franchise tag discussion that we'd all talked about, that's over. Like his career's over. Like no, like it'll be like, come on now.
The warm fuzzies dissipate so quickly when you're a sports fan, right? Yes. Like they really do. Yeah.
Rest assured, in a quarterback-driven league where there is a dearth of good quarterbacks, all the comments that Sam will never find work in the NFL, again, that uncategorically not true. Yeah. I will tell you guys before we get to the Before I Dies, I'll leave everybody, all of the Before I Die and Purple Daily faithful, with the wise words of what Garth Algar once told Wayne Campbell. Live in the now, man. Enjoy the playoffs for whatever they are. All right, here we go.
Time now for the Before I Die crew to give us their Before I Dies.
Ross, why don't you kick us off? We'll let Myles take a little backseat for a moment, and you kick us off.
Yeah, this one's simple. It's a rehash of last year, and I know we're always moving forward. We're never going backwards in the grand scheme of life. But for somebody who likes to crawl into bed at 8 and watch TV for like 3 hours before they go to bed and not have to be actively engaged, one, launch Sunday Night Football into the sun. I've never liked it. Weekend's over. We got to go to bed. These Monday night playoff games are literally the worst idea ever. I despise everything about them, and I know we're never going back, but before I die, the NFL will do course correction, and we'll go back to burying a game at noon on Saturday and not a game on Monday night that puts the winner at a competitive disadvantage the following week.
Well, that's fair.
That's fair. I don't disagree. Yeah, it was funny. I was talking to some friends who went out to watch the game, and everybody left by halftime, right? Like, the bars cleared out, all that, because it's a Sunday night. Like, you know.
It's a school night.
It's a school night.
Moms and dads got to get their rest, too.
Yeah. What you got, Myles?
It's kind of from our last segment. Just enjoy the ride. I just want to enjoy the ride. I've done that all season. I feel like we do this thing where we can't enjoy the positives in what's going on, and we only focus on the negatives, or we ride too high and we're like, we're unbeatable, we're unstoppable, and then when it happens, then you lose the one game, the sky's falling. Let's enjoy it. Like, we're a 14-win 5 seed. I don't care how last night went. Any team we were playing next week is terrified. Mm-hmm. They're going to get the best version of us. You get a pissed off Kevin O'Connell, a pissed off Justin Jefferson, a pissed off Brian Flores. The entire Minnesota Vikings is a pissed off team, and they get to go play a team that did beat them in the regular season. The only non-division team to beat us this season. Go get that revenge, and let's go kick their, let's put it to them. Yeah, butts. So enjoy the ride. Enjoy the ride.
Sometimes you're like a sweet Mr. Rogers. If you were just to like zip up your sweater, like just ending with a positivity, right? Change your shoes quick, something like that. That's
Won't
great.
you be my Vikings fan, neighbor?
Yeah, exactly. What a man. My Before I Die. This is kind of a self-reflection and a very difficult admission for myself. So please, you guys, we listen, we don't judge. Okay, I would like us to all have that sentiment. I need to move on from the basketball career that never was never going to be, and never will be. I still have this inner feeling that I should have been in the WNBA. I should have played Division I basketball. You guys, I was cut from our varsity team junior year, which was a very long time ago, but my kids started basketball on Friday. I pulled out the old travel bag that I still have that's
oh my goodness.
On it. I went and got him a ball. I was so excited. You would have thought that I had like gone far in basketball. I went into my old basketball ways. We're listening to jock jams on the way to the court. I run into some fellow alums and we're all like living. I watched 11 basketball when oh my gosh. What'd you say?
Yeah.
It was I take good care of my things. I couldn't believe it was still like around. Even my friend, she's like, is that from like 5th grade? I was like, it is from 5th grade travel, our first year travel ball. Yep. Still some rebounds in it too.
So,
but I
fifth grade, Jessi. So what? 1973.
Wow.
Kidding. I love you, kid. You kid those who you love.
Yeah. We'll see if we move past that one. That's old jokes.
Hey, quick on-air production note.
Yeah.
I'll text you guys because we should do this next Tuesday versus Monday.
Okay.
We'll find a time. The masses need their Before I Die after a big Vikings win over the Rams.
Yeah.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. So that's my Before I Die. I need just acceptance that as a 5'6" white girl, I probably wasn't going to go very far in the game of basketball anyway, but, just how it goes. So thank you for listening to my TED Talk.
I'm always here for you, Jessi. Anytime you need to talk, even when it's a full admission like you just had, it's okay. Also, very quickly on the basketball talk, and I'm being serious when I say this, shout out to Dawn Plitzowite and the University of Minnesota Golden Gopher women's basketball team. They are 15-1 after a nice win yesterday. So
could they take over for the Timberwolves?
Actually, rumor has it. Here comes your subtle jab. Rumor has it. Mark Coyle has approached Dawn Plitzowite about coaching both the men's and women's basketball teams. So Well,
I see Ant put up like 53 points the other night, and they still lost to the Pistons.
Got whooped.
Yeah. Well, enough positivity for you.
That's Minnesota sports, baby. But World Juniors, USA won gold. We love it. So Round of applause.
Don't get me started on 3-on-3 deciding an international competition.
Yeah, but they played overtime until their legs fall off if they needed to. It wasn't going to end in a shootout, so that's an advancement that the International Hockey Federation has made, which I appreciate, because it used to be decided in a shootout.
I'll join the Buttes Pod or Judd's Hockey Show, and we'll have this out.
We'll hash
I can
that
fix
out.
this.
Yeah, don't forget to check those out. Don't forget to check out Judd's Hockey Show along with all of your other Score North and your Purple Daily content. As always, we appreciate you. Drop your comments, feelings, likes, hates, I guess, too. Sure, go for it. Whatever floats your boat. Until next week, playoffs, baby. We'll be back. Vikings. Here we go. Skol.
The Vikings fans will celebrate next week, late Monday night in Hennepin County. Peace out, Doug Peterson in Duval.